Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jerry Jones, and today I'm joined by Dan Conti from Voya, who's going to talk about 529 plans today with you. There are a lot of questions surrounding these plans, and we get client questions all the time. What should I start? When should I start it? How to fund those? We're going to try and work our way through just a couple of questions regarding that today. So please stay tuned. Here we go. What are the most impactful changes to 529 plans this year that advisors should be proactively discussing with their clients? Dan?
It's a great question. We've had a lot of changes in the 529 plans in the last couple of years, and every single time we get a change, these are often changes for the better, helping families, helping children out to save for college and also save for their future. So things like being able to roll over to a Roth IRA, be able to save more and be able to use it for private kindergarten through 12th grade tuition. We've had some changes with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that went through in July that we'll go through. Increases in the tax deduction for the state of Wisconsin for our Wisconsin residents that are on the call, as well as across other states that have had other increases in benefits. So there's been a whole host of changes that I know that we'll cover in the next couple of questions that you have there.
Yeah, and I think so. That's a good segue. How have the recent changes to 529 plans under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act impacted the approach to education savings and planning?
So number one, and there's different deadlines that these went into effect, we've expanded how much you're able to use out of a 529 plan to pay for private K-5 through 12th grade tuition. In the past, you've been able to use up to $10,000 per calendar year to pay for private K-5 through 12th grade tuition. Many of these private schools oftentimes cost more than $10,000 per year. They have doubled that amount, lifting it to $20,000. A caveat that I'll mention to everybody, some states offer a tax benefit if you pay private school tuition out of pocket. So make sure you're working with your financial advisor to know your state's benefit or your accountant, and then how to work alongside the 529 plan to get the most bang for your buck there. That goes into effect January 1st, 2026, lifting it to that $20,000. The second change is a really neat one where you can now use the 529 plan effective July 1st this year to pay for a whole host of kindergarten through 12th grade expenses. So any testing and study materials would be one. So think about your student that's getting ready for their SATs or ACTs. They're going to take a prep class. There's a cost for the exam. You might buy some additional study materials. That is all 529 plan eligible now. Also, any private therapy or tutoring that you would do is a qualified expense. So here's a personal example. My son Benjamin, he's 6 years old. He's more of a mathlete than an athlete at this point. He loves going to mathnasium class. They're across the country. He goes twice a week. We spend about $400 a month to pay for him to go there. At the end of this year, I'll be able to reimburse myself $4,800 from the 529 plan for that tutoring that he's received. If you hire a private tutor for a student, or any other therapy, so things speech therapy for a younger child, that would all be a qualified expense now, as well as additional materials and supplies that you'll need. So if you're buying books, some study books for a student, you could even make the case for a high school student needs a laptop or an iPad. Those are additional study materials. That could be a qualified expense, and that went into effect July 1st of this year. The third change expands what went through with Secure Act 1.0 when we opened up 529 plans to be able to be used for trade schools and apprenticeships. Now, the caveat to that was that you needed to do the education at an accredited university, meaning that they accept federal financial aid. So think here in our area, a Milwaukee area technical college. If you want to go become a plumber, carpenter, a cosmetologist, beautician, you still need to do the classwork at a place like a MATC or a tech school. The private schools like an Aveda beauty salon might not be an accredited university. They don't accept federal financial aid. Now with this change that went through as part of the Big Beautiful Bill, those certifications, anything that you want to do is a qualified expense, including the supplies that you need. So if somebody's going to go become a truck driver and get their CDL, there's a lot of private truck driving schools out there that would be a qualified expense. Or if somebody's going to be a pilot and you need ongoing instrument certification, the costs for that are a qualified expense. Back to the cosmetology beautician school, opens all those up every year, getting recertified by the state. Also buying your razors for guys like Jerry and I, your combs, your blow dryers, all of that would be a qualified expense now. So that was a big change that's going to help a ton of people out that went through July 1st of this year.
Excellent, excellent. That leads us right into our next question. How do the new rollover options into Roth IRAs change the long-term strategy for clients concerned about unused 529 funds? That comes up quite often.
Yeah, we talk about this more and more every single day, and we're seeing the amount of rollovers here at Voya and Tomorrow Scholar pick up every single month. More and more folks are taking advantage of this. So 2 years ago, it was announced that you could roll over leftover funds from a 529 plan into a Roth IRA. And there's several rules that apply to be able to hit this.
Mhm.
So the account needs to be open for 15 years with the same beneficiary. The money needs to have been in the account for at least 5 years.
Okay.
You can roll over up to $7,000 per year from
Per
the
year.
529 plan into the beneficiary's Roth, as long as they have earned income and meet all those other Roth IRA contribution rules. So a lot of neat things that you can do with this, and it's capped at $35,000
Total, right?
total in the beneficiary's lifetime.
Okay.
So again, I'll use a personal example. Happy to share about my house. It's myself, my wife, my stepdaughter, my son Benjamin, who's 6. I've had a 529 plan for myself for coming up on 13 years now. In 2 years, when my account hits 15 years old, I'll begin to drain my 529 plan that I have for myself and put it into my Roth IRA.
Right. Okay.
Even though we're very fortunate, we're above the Roth income thresholds, I'll be able to use this kind of like a backdoor Roth IRA.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, Irene, she's gone back for her MBA. We're using some of her 529 plan now, but there will likely be leftover money in it. I'll do the same thing for her when her account hits 15 years old in 5 years. My stepdaughter's the exact reason why this was created. So we've agreed in our house, depending on grades, we'll pay 50 to 75% of her college costs.
Okay.
And all of high school. She wanted to get out of Wisconsin, get somewhere warm. We're budgeting for Arizona schools, Florida schools, $45,000 a year type schools. She chose to go to Wisconsin La Crosse, which is $18,000 a year. We have overfunded her 529
Correct.
plan.
Yep.
So when she graduates, her account's going to be right around 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want her to come back and live in our basement for too long. So to help her in her future, we'll be able to take that leftover money and help her save for her future, making her Roth contributions.
Okay.
The one that I think is really neat and kind of a neat thing you can do from a planning standpoint, somebody like my son Benjamin, I opened up a 529 plan for him almost day one. So when he's 15 years old and starts to work at the golf course or whatever it might be, has earned income, I'll be able to take money out of his 529 plan, put it into a Roth IRA when he's 15, 16, 17, 18, and that could really grow to be a meaningful sum.
And one of the critical things there is, which we know from in the past, the older children, if they don't use the 529, and let's say the parents then choose to move that into the younger sibling's name, how does that affect that timeline? Because now it's in a different name.
Yes, great question. So the key to this, and I know everybody on the O'Hare team knows this, when you have a 529 plan, one, I'm a believer that everybody should have their own 529 plan, one for every beneficiary. Sometimes, like in my example, have one for adults. If you do a beneficiary change, it resets that 15-year clock.
Exactly. Okay.
So avoid changing beneficiaries on 529 plans, typically at all costs. You can get money out of the 529 plan and then put it into another child, but don't do the beneficiary change, or don't have one bigger account where you change the beneficiaries for different kids, different grandkids.
Okay.
Do the extra steps, open up a 529 plan for everybody, because also you're going to invest for a 3-year-old differently than you will a 17-year-old. So you want to have the different accounts to be invested appropriately depending on that risk that you need to take at that given time.
Great. That leads us to our last question today. Are there specific client profiles, such as high net worth families or those with multiple children, who benefit most from these updates? Not the basic 529, but from the updated plans.
Yeah. One, anybody that wants to save for a child, grandchild's future, 529 plans nothing beats it in my opinion.
Okay.
The possible state tax savings that you could receive, the tax deferred growth that you'll receive, the flexibility to pull the money out with any negative implications, being able to roll it over to a Roth IRA, and even if the child doesn't go to college, what they've opened it up with the trade school certifications, apprenticeships, you're going to find a way to use these dollars. So I think everybody should, if you can afford to do so, meet your financial plan. 529 plan is the way to go to save for a children's education. There's other benefits where monies in a 529 plan are creditor protected.
Right.
So I've had some fun phone calls where I've had attorneys and athletes on the other end where people that are possibly more subject to litigation, attorneys, physicians, open up a lot of 529 plans and put up pretty meaningful sums of money into these to be creditor protected and also have it outside of their estate. And that we could have a whole nother video on and have a long conversation, but I know the team here is always ready to have those with individual clients and prospects. Right now, with being able to move it over to a Roth, I think now the conversation has to be maybe we fund these 529 plans a little bit more aggressively to also help those children in the future post college or whatever they decide to do professionally.
I was about to say that has become one of the flashpoints of conversations is now it used to be, oh, don't overfund your 529. Why would you do that? Well, now you have a reason, correct?
Yeah, you have tons of flexibility.
Okay.
You also have the ability, and we said we try to avoid it, but to change beneficiaries. So let's say you've gotten a child through college. You've done all 35,000 into the Roth IRA and there's still money left over. Worst thing is you change the beneficiary and that future grandchild gets born, and once they get born you change the beneficiary to them. You wait the 15 years, you can start to do the Roth,
Like it.
or when they have their education needs,
Exactly.
you have a use for it. There's no time limits, there's no expiration, there's no deadlines to 529 plans. We can continue to pass these along generation to generation and change ownership as somebody passes away or as a family decides to do so.
So combined with that Roth and the ability to use the 529s on other things that we could not use it on previously, there are a lot of changes, folks. So we want to make sure you understand that. Reach out to any member of the O'Hare Wealth Management team. We can answer those questions directly, or we can engage Dan, have him come in and talk with you as a group and work through individual specific questions that you might have. On behalf of Dan Conti of Voya and myself and the rest of the O'Hare Wealth Management team, thank you for joining us today.